you, Secretary Kerry, Secretary Hagel, for your service. Let me say I actually agree with my friend Representative Jordan about the history, that the Green New Deal isn't a new idea. Thomas Friedman wrote a whole column about it in 2007, and President Obama adopted part of it in his platform in 2008. I know I served in his administration, far lower level than either of you. I was a lowly Deputy Assistant Secretary at Commerce, but I was proud of the work. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just came over. She's introduced the Green New Deal with new energy, but she reminded me that the Energy Department in the Obama administration actually funded Tesla. And I know Representative Jordan wants to pick on the one or two things that didn't work. Let me tell you, in Silicon Valley, it'd be going to Kleiner Perkins and saying, well, you invested in all these wrong things. Oh, forget that you invested in Google. You know, we at least ought to talk about the things that succeeded. Now, here's why Tesla matters, and I'd like both of your thoughts on this. China, as I understand it, has 50% of the market on electric vehicles. 50%. And China is going to spend $450 billion on clean energy. And China right now has about 20% solar and wind. We're at 10%. They're projected by 2025 to be 41%. My question is this. Put aside even whether you believe in climate change or not. Let's talk about a green energy race. Is there a single American, in your view, Secretary Kerry or Secretary Hagel, Democrat, Republican, I don't care what party, who believes that America should lose the green energy race to China?
I hope not.
Secretary Hagel?
I'd be given the same answer. I hope not.
So let me ask this, and I just want to put in the record that the Green New Deal resolution doesn't say anything about getting rid of fossil fuels in 10 years. I certainly don't think 10 years is some magical number. But if you were going to be President of the United States in 2020, and Secretary Kerry, of course, you've run for president, and you were saying that a very simple promise to the American people, by 2024 or 2025, America will beat China when it comes to clean technology. That's it. We're going to do what it takes. What would you recommend that we need to do to make sure that we're ahead of China by 2025?
Well, first of all, I think it'd be very exciting. I think that would be our moonshot, so to speak. I think it would be one of the great challenges that the American people would respond to, providing it was accompanied by a realistic set of proposals for how we do it. To begin with, as I said earlier, a massive commitment to technology, R&D, in reverse incentives. We ought to be incentivized, providing incentives for, it's been a struggle. We managed to keep them, temporarily at least, on solar, wind, et cetera. But electric vehicles, we ought to be doing whatever is necessary to try to advance battery storage, battery capacity. That's going to be critical to leadership in the electric field. There are a number of other incentives. I think we could put energy efficiency. There are huge gains to be made in efficiencies. It's probably the lowest hanging fruit of the energy choices that we face. I think that, but R&D is the biggest single piece of this. Technology is what is going to do it. And if we put the right incentives in place, money is going to come pouring in from the private sector because people want to be winners. Whatever it's going to be, the next Sergey Brin, the next Bill Gates, that's what excites people's imagination, and this is the sector we ought to be doing it in.
Let me ask both of you this, a final question, because whether people agree or disagree with your particular ideology, I don't think anyone would question both of your patriotism and extraordinary service to the country and national security expertise. And if this president is right, that China poses the long-term biggest strategic threat to the United States, competition, how critical do you think it is, from a pure national security perspective, that we win the energy race against China to maintain America's lead? Secretary Hagel?
Thank you. Let me answer the other question, and then I'll get to that question. Very simply, in addition to what Secretary Kerry said in answering your first question, smart government and regulatory policy, and let the market work. Those are the two big factors. Let the market work, because our market does produce better than anybody and it's free. We have a nation of laws, the infrastructure, but the government and regulatory policy that go with it have to be smart. Now, your second question.
How critical is China, beating China on energy to make sure America
I think it's absolutely, no question, it's absolutely necessary, essential, that this country not lose that race to China, because it affects not just this country, but it affects the world. It affects other countries and technologies that they will buy and they will use. We just can't afford to give that up. We must lead.
And while we're at it, Congressman, it's a very important question. It's critical that we also face up to the realities of what's happening with cyber. We need to make a much more significant effort to create rules of the road in the same way that we reined in the possibilities of nuclear confrontation in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, et cetera. We need to be working for much greater restraint with respect to cyber today. It's as big a threat as any of the other security challenges that we face.
Thank you.